we are.
Here we are.
Happy Women's History Month, Melissa Carter.
Happy Women's History Month, Jenn Hobby. I love March. I love March for several reasons because,
Your birthday's
my
coming.
birthday is on the 11th, so my birthday is coming up. But I appreciate the fact that we're giving women attention that normally don't get attention. So
Yeah, I love honoring Women's History Month because it does remind us of those women that have come before us and done great things before us. So we love it when you guys check in with us on this live. So say hi in comments and we can add you in. Hey, Mary Kay, how
hey,
are
Mary Kay.
you? And Hope, how's it going? Hope your day
Hey.
is off to a great start.
I see what you did there. You hope her day is off to a good start.
Yes. And that you're in the middle of the week. It's like already Wednesday. For some reason, this week is flying by to me.
Yeah, me too. And so Jenn and I have a new podcast called The Friendzy. If this is the first time you're seeing this, so thefriendzy.com is where you can get all the information about us and about the podcast.
Yeah,
So we'll
new
talk about it
episode.
here.
Yeah, every Monday. And this week's episode features the director of Cure Childhood Cancer, our interview with Kristen Connor. She's amazing.
Yeah.
I listened to it all over again. I was so inspired again. Listen, I'm like, I was in this conversation and re-listening to it. I'm inspired all over again. She was just so incredible. Can you talk a little bit about her story?
Yeah, well, Kristen is someone who was a lawyer and she was kind of rising in her career as a lawyer and then got the terrible diagnosis.
Oh, shoot.
And she became an advocate for other parents of kids with cancer and research for cancer. And so the fact that she took a passion, something that she felt was a calling for her, and has really thrived with that. And the numbers of the money that she's raised for childhood cancer research. But, I think for a lot of
I think
women,
it's 67 million under her direction.
$67 million
so far. And there's no end in sight for her.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that her story about how she pivoted her career based on what her heart was telling her, how she could not be in those depositions and feel good about what was happening over here. I just think that, yeah, if you're a woman who's yearning to figure out what your purpose in life is, I think Kristen is a great mentor for that because she talks about how and why she made that change. So great interview. And I would love for you to check out The Friendzy and get to know her.
Definitely. Okay, so we're asking you a question today about Women's History Month, and it's simple. Just throw your answer in the comments. Who is your favorite influential woman of history?
Gosh, and Jenn asked me
Hard to
that
pick one.
Yeah, right before we came on, but I'm just going to go with the first woman who came to my mind, and that was Eleanor Roosevelt. And the reason I choose her is not only because she was so wise, but she also had to live a life taking the back seat to someone who was also a great man, but had his flaws as well. And she had to endure a lot of public humility because of his actions as well as because of her looks. And that's the reason I admire her so much is because as women, we are expected to have a certain beauty standard. And I always thought that here was a woman that was ridiculed in public for her looks and probably still is by people, but still was able to stand up straight and maintain her wisdom and still inspire a nation and do great things until her death. And so I just thought that the emotional strength of that woman, there's very few women that probably have it because she used the tools she had and she did great things with it. So I'd say Eleanor Roosevelt.
I think that's awesome. That's a great choice. It's funny. I immediately thought of a first lady as well. When I was thinking of a favorite influential woman, the first name that popped in my head was Michelle Obama. Isn't it funny how we both thought of first ladies?
First ladies. Yeah, right.
Well, I guess they're in the public eye so often and we see their pictures and their videos and, especially with Michelle, she's so front and center and was such a front and center part of that administration. And so I just am super inspired by her in general. Just as a woman who not only was on this national stage so early on because of her career and her husband's career, she was raising kids in the White House. Like, can you imagine how difficult that would be to raise good children in front of the world. Like, I'm trying to do it now privately and screwing it up daily.
Oh, please, whatever. Every
You
mother
know what
thinks
I'm
that.
saying?
Every
Like,
mother thinks that. But you're right. And I
but
think,
it's like to have that kind of pressure. She had never raised kids before. She didn't know how to do that. And then she was doing it in front of everyone. It's like, wow. So I'm really
and
inspired by her. I
raising them
love her talks.
in front of the nation, but also trying to make sure that they were quote unquote normal women,
Yes,
like, because these women are being and so how she makes them humble, right?
totally.
But I think the other reason I don't think we understand on a conscious level how
Mhm.
much that office of the president is a place that we look toward for something. So whether it's
Yeah, that's
for
true.
support or criticism, we are led by that office. And I think
Yeah,
because we haven't had a female president in this country yet, but hopefully, maybe in our lifetime we might, if not, hopefully our children's lifetime. So the first lady is the highest level for a woman that we're watching, right? So I think
mhm.
uh, it's not surprising. I was looking at the comment. Thank you so much. It's not surprising we picked first lady. So see, Jen can
Yeah.
multitask. I can't multitask. It's like I'll start talking, then somebody says something to me. Okay, I'll go. It's very ADD.
Okay, I can see your eyeballs watching right now. If you have a favorite influential woman in the past, even if it's somebody personal in your life, maybe it's not a famous person, we'd love to hear what your answer is in
And
comments.
also, let me say, I don't have it in front of me. I just saw it last night, but BET has a fantastic video of women of color for Women's History Month. So their
Cool.
promo for Women's History Month, if you need to check out BET's video, I saw it last night quickly. Need to post it, but I just was really impressed because I think for a lot of people, for Black History Month to be so important, and then we're transitioning to Women's History Month. I mean, women of all color need to be honored, but I liked how BET
Absolutely.
transitioned that monumental month into something very inspiring. So, yeah,
Very
women
cool.
women need the attention. Oh,
Hey,
thanks.
Francis. Thank you for jumping in live. We know it's a Wednesday morning, almost noon, lunchtime. We were just doing some work on the podcast this morning and wanted to jump in and check in with you guys and say hi and see how you're doing. Let us know how you like the podcast too. We want to hear your feedback
Mhm.
on what you think about these conversations. For me, Melissa, it's been like free therapy. I have been so enriched by these interviews that we've been
Yeah.
doing and just focusing the conversation on women over 40 and not only all their amazing achievements, but the things they're still going through right now.
Mhm.
It's like, I think one of our guests even said this to us on an upcoming episode. She said, when you invited me to be a part of this podcast, it felt like a warm hug.
Yeah, that's right.
And I thought that
Yes.
was one of the best compliments we could ever receive. And it feels like a warm hug.
Well, and it's so easy to be with Jen. I mean, it always has been. And so I'm really enjoying this podcast. I told Jen also about a friend of mine who was hesitant to listen to the Friendzy because she's like, I don't want to talk about being over 40 because she had this terrible relationship with her age.
Mhm.
And then she checked it out because she's a good friend. And then she's listened to every episode and she realized, wait a
So
second.
she's like begrudgingly listening. All
Yes,
right, I
but
guess I gotta listen because
no,
it's Melissa.
no, but I think that was the first episode, but I think she's transitioned into feeling empowered by being over 40, and that's the whole point.
Yes.
Women's History Month is there because so many women's voices are never listened to or paid attention to. But think about the fact that a lot of women's voices over the age of 40 are certainly dismissed and not listened to, and we're trying to change that conversation. So,
Yeah, reverse it and celebrate it
yeah.
for sure. So we just love checking in with you guys. Is there anything else that's come out of the podcast that surprised you?
Um Well, I mean, it's hard. So, Jen and I do tape these podcasts, and it's hard to not talk about things that we just did.
We haven't
um,
that we haven't released yet.
yeah.
It's okay. You can give a sneak preview.
Well, I think. Well, I can talk about your TED Talk, can I? Can
Yeah.
I plug
Yeah.
that? So, I'm very proud of Jen Hobby because she gave a TEDx talk that is now on the TEDx website, right? Can you explain why that's a big deal? I mean, because you don't wanna I know you, and you're not gonna try to
Mhm.
be on I'm gonna force you to brag about yourself, so go ahead and do it.
You're very kind. Well, I'm just glad that the talk resonated because I feel so passionately about the content that's in it. It's about don't bottle up your story because the world needs you. And your story is your success. So the way we measure success, I offer a different way to measure your own success. And if you can go watch it and it resonates with you and it changes the way you think about whether or not you're successful, where you measure that, where you gauge yourself on how much you're sharing your story and how much you're giving your story frequency and amplitude to serve the world, then I've done my job. So I am really excited it was selected to be focused. So
And so, and they hand select certain talks to do that. So I think it's
yeah,
appropriate for Women's History Month because, again, I think it's women's voices that sometimes are suppressed. And I'm not saying necessarily by society. I think women suppress their own story. So, so anyway, to answer your question about what surprised me, I think that I have a new challenge based on this TED Talk that we'll talk about in a future episode of the Friendzy. And I'm surprised that of what I probably will accomplish by the end of this year based on Jenn
yes. Awesome.
and this
This is
topic. So
great feedback
that
from Mandy. Look at this from Mandy. She says, because of y'all and the podcast, I felt comfortable with asking for my work profile photo to not have my 42 age face to not be filtered to smooth out my face.
Mandy,
Girl.
that a
Yes.
girl, that a girl. Look, honey,
Awesome.
I earned, I
Yeah, look at all those.
earned all this, right?
All
Good for
those.
you. Nice job, Mandy. Don't be
Yeah.
yeah, don't be ashamed of your age. Don't be ashamed of your
We
skin.
earned them.
You earn, yeah, really. I mean, it just this whole beauty standard goes back to what I talked about Eleanor Roosevelt. Like we are trained to think of ourselves as if I'm not pretty or traditionally attractive based on whatever somebody said an 18-year-old model's supposed to look like, then I'm not. And you get out of your head,
Yeah.
you get out of your wisdom, you get out of your knowledge, you get out of your confidence, you get out of all these things. And it's just like screw the whole beauty standard
Yep.
and and just
And
move
you know
on.
what? That's not your value. That's
That's
not
right.
what you're valuable for, right? Like, yes, you're beautiful, but because of who you are from the inside out, it's like we try to teach our kids this. How come we can't learn it? You know,
Right.
and why do we continue to perpetuate it? So, Mandy, I love you for that. That is a huge win. We are going to celebrate the heck out of that.
I'm just saying,
Mary Kay is saying, "Go, Mandy! My sister's photo was so filtered by her work that I barely recognized her, and she is beautiful inside and out." That's right.
That's absolutely
We got to
right.
start standing up for it.
And I'm just telling you,
Um,
average looking girls, best girlfriends. Just saying.
the best girlfriends. I love it. I love it. And Jennifer says her favorite influential woman has always been Lucille Ball. Yes.
Yes.
Love it.
And here's so if people don't know about Lucille Ball, so you know, obviously she
good one.
a fantastic comedian, you know, physical comedy. But the thing that made her and Desi Arnaz stand out is they owned their own content. They owned their own films. Like they're the first ones to do 3 cameras in a comedy series. It's getting technical, but before them, there was 1 camera that went around, and it was her and Desi that came up with a 3 camera that is still used today. Jen's brother, you know, on Young
So
Sheldon
cool.
is still using the 3 camera system that Lucy and her husband put together. They started their own production company. And what I always loved about Star Trek, it was Desi and Lucy's production company that released Star Trek. And
so cool.
So yeah, I agree with you. Lucy's just the best.
And Cammie saying, she's like, yes, that is not our value. That is not at all. Let's see. It's funny how the comments come in a little bit after,
Right.
right? So it's like going back to
okay, stop talking.
Boston has a great comment. Be to yourself who you are to your friends. It's so true.
That's exactly
so true. Let's see. And Holly got something out of TED Talk. Thank you, Holly, for watching it. That's awesome. She said, being a stay-at-home mom sometimes is a very thankless job. That talk made me give my 43-year-old self more grace. Amen. Decibels were heard with friends of mine. That's right. That's right. Sharing that story and sharing those vulnerable moments where you're like, it is a thankless job. I have to say, I'm still working, but I'm working from home. And a lot of the home things, especially in this pandemic, have become more on my plate and my job. And it is thankless. All those little tiny things that you're doing all day long for your kids and for your family to make everything run so smoothly. Man, You really deserve all the trophies, all the awards, because
All the pay. Oh, let's
and
get
a lot
down
of
to it.
money.
Don't give me an award. Don't give me a
Right.
trophy. Give me a paycheck.
That's
Holly,
right.
I'm a single mom and I've been working from home and remote learning with Mr. Carter, who is
Yeah.
6 now. And let me tell you, you are the foundation, as am I, as am Jen, as in all the
Mhm.
women who are mothers working from home or not, but especially the ones working from home and sacrificing their entire life and identity in that child. You are the foundation for your family and that human being's life. And so the beauty of, and just reflect on your own parents. Like if it's your mother who was the one that sacrificed for
Mhm.
you, or your father or your grandmother or whoever it was, think about that. I know that I would never be the woman I am without Millie Pete,
Mhm.
who's made the same sacrifice. So just know you're
Yeah,
not good. You're
same.
not.
Shout out to Nancy Hobby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
right.
wouldn't be the same, and she did all that thankless work with us growing up.
So it's thankless in the immediacy.
Mm.
But here's the thing, I hope that Mr. Carter, when he's 50 years old and thinks back on his life, because I likely won't be here when he's 50, and thinks about me, if he has a tear in his eye, if he has a smile on his face, that's the thank. That's the thank you. So just know that
Mhm.
you may never see it, but it's not a wasted. I promise you, mothers, fathers, it's not wasted effort. Just think about your own life. You are
Mhm.
building this comfort for a child in their darkest moments. That's what you're doing.
Mm. So good. Cheers to that, and cheers to Women's
I don't have a
History
cup.
Month.
I don't have a
So
cup.
if you're watching, there's my coffee still. That's the other thing that's happened during the pandemic is the 3rd cup of coffee that goes into the afternoon,
Right.
right? So we want to say cheers to Women's History Month. If you're watching
Absolutely.
this later and not joining us live and you want to add a comment, we would love to see who your favorite influential woman of history is, who has made an impact on your life. So be sure to share that in comments, and be sure to go listen to the Frenzy. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. It means a lot to us. And if
Yes.
you like the show, please leave us a 5-star review. That means that Apple and the other podcast hosting places will bump us up on the list and suggest us to more people, which really helps us to continue to do this show together and for you. We
Be
love it.
And be sure to subscribe also, because we're going to begin a newsletter, the Frenzy newsletter. So we want you to have access to that, and we can deliver the Frenzy to your inbox if you prefer it to do it that way. We've talked to a lot of, because the Frenzy is for women over 40, and Jen has already helped walk some women through getting a podcast who've never had a
Yeah.
podcast before. I did that
Oh,
last night. If you're somebody who's like, I would rather just you send it to me via email, then you go to thefrenzy.com and you can subscribe. We'll be happy to do that. Plus, don't forget, you can go to YouTube. If you're on YouTube today, just farting around, then go you search for The Frenzy, because we have all the videos of our podcast, extended content, outtakes are there as well. So we just want to build this tribe, and we really appreciate it.
love you guys and have a
Love you.
great day.
All right. Have a good one.